Good evening, everyone. A quick little welcome and shout out to all of you who have returned or maybe have logged on for the first time to our Traveling Thursdays webinars. This is the first one in our fall season. I don't know how you heard about it, whether you saw it on Facebook or Instagram or maybe through our newsletter. And if you've looked at the fabulous lineup that we have for this fall season, but we are starting today in the Caribbean. And so I do want to just do a few little things to get us started and give you an idea of what we're going to do tonight. So I'll talk a little bit about who's who. We will take a little bit of extra time tonight to update us on the world travel situation. An introduction to St. Eustatius, or also known as Statia. Who is Scubaqua? You will find that out. And where can you stay on Statia? And of course, you will hear about where that is if you don't know. And then we'll have time for question and answers at the end. About a week's time or so, you will be able to find this on our YouTube channel. If you have not signed up for our newsletter, you can do so, and then you will automatically, a week before the next webinar, get an invitation. And registration usually opens up a week before. Just a little bit of an introduction for those of you who have not been on one of the webinars, Fly and Sea Dive Adventures. There's our team here. We are a dive travel company that is celebrating its 25th anniversary next year. So we're getting closer to that. Been in business, obviously, for quite some time and have over 70 years of combined experience between all of us. We represent over 40 dive destinations in the world, 100 plus resorts, 100 plus liveaboards worldwide. We have great partnerships all around the world. We are IATA appointed, which means we can issue our own tickets. And that is a huge advantage because we have way better control over what's happening with your flights. And that's a huge advantage. We organize group trips, most of them through dive shops. And I know there's a few dive shop owners on this call as well. And also individuals, which means where you want to go, when you want to go, for how long you want to go, customized trips. So that's our team. I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes on talking about the world travel situation. Obviously, I think all of us agree we are so done with this and we would like to have this over with sooner rather than later. But realistically, COVID-19 has deflated the world travel situation. Indonesia, can't go there right now. Philippines, closed. Truk Lagoon, Chuuk in Micronesia, can't go there. Fiji, closed. Although we've heard they're hoping to open up November 1st. So we will wait and see. Cayman Islands, closed. Solomon Islands, closed. Australia, closed. And we know there's others, but these are some of our biggest dive destinations. And we've been rebooking and rebooking and rebooking people for 18 plus months now. But that's the negative side. Don't want to dwell too much on the negative side. Where can you travel now? Lots of places. A lot of places in the Caribbean are open. Turks and Caicos and Bonaire, Statia, we're talking about tonight, Cebes, Curacao, Honduras, Roatan, and Utila, the Bay Islands, Mexico, Belize is open. And some of the more exotic places, Egypt and the Maldives, the Galapagos. We have a group from Ontario in the Galapagos as we speak. They're diving with hammerheads and whale sharks right now. Costa Rica, Bahamas, Hawaii, Sri Lanka, St. Lucia, Grenada, all those places are open. So the world is not as small anymore as it was when we last met 4 months ago, which is kind of nice. But what is the reality and what do we have to pay attention to? Well, I think we all know by now, if you're not vaccinated, you're not going to travel very far. There are quite a few countries where you don't have to be vaccinated to actually enter. But in order to fly there, most airlines these days require that you're fully vaccinated. Testing is a huge part of the travel scenario. Testing before you arrive, testing before you come home, various different rules and regulations. And in addition to testing, many countries also have some form of health declaration that you need to fill out. We are keeping track of all of that. That's why you're working with us, and we will let you know what is required when you travel and where you travel. Be aware that rules can change almost from one day to the next. Insurance, a huge part of, even more so than it was before. And I think a lot of people recognize and realize now, I better insure my trip. The best coverage that you can get is if there is an option for you to get what's called cancel for any reason coverage, and that will they will not ask why you're canceling, and will give you a big chunk of your money back. That is available in Canada. In the US, currently, the insurance that we sell is not available because COVID-19 is considered a known cause that you could potentially cancel. However, the American insurance policies that we can offer will cover if you get sick from COVID, which means you test positive before you go, that's covered, whereas the Canadian ones doesn't cover that. So there's a plus and a minus to it. Those are some of the realities, and had to get those little masks in there. I think masks on planes for sure are here to stay. And anybody who's traveled through Asia has seen this even before COVID, that is the case. So that's a little bit of a summary. As I said, when you call us, you talk to us, we will definitely advise you of the different rules and regulations. And soon we will also have a program on our website where you can look this up yourself and check what the rules and regulations are for places that you do want to go to. I am going to be handing it over now and stopping my screen share and letting Mike and Marika take over from Scuba Aqua in St. Eustatius or Statia. I do want to say I have some special memories with Statia. It's where I took my last dive over 2 years ago now, and something else which I will be sharing at the end of this presentation. So stay tuned. I will tell you a little bit more then. Okay, take it on, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Petra. It's been 2 years ago. It's time you come back.
Yes, it is.
We miss you, and we miss everybody actually for a while, like the whole diving world. Fortunately, it looks a bit better than it was, as you explained. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Hartering, and together with Marika, here she is, we are the owners of Scuba Aqua Dive Center in the island St. Eustatius, and what Petra says, we call it Statia locally, so I probably will only use Statia if I speak about our island. Statia is different than all the other islands I would say in the Caribbean, but in the world. This is a special place. And it's a Dutch island, but if I speak to Dutch dive center owners and instructors, and I say, well, I live in St. Eustatius, they say, Sint what, Sint who, Sint where, what is this, where is it? First of all, where are we? We're in the corner in the Caribbean, and on a bright day we can see Sint Maarten. On a not so bright day we see St. Kitts, that's just underneath us, to the south of us. We can see Seba and Sint Barts. To get here, the only way at the moment is with this plane, and it's a Twin Otter. It's Canadian made. A Twin Otter and Win Air flies every day from Sint Maarten to our little island. And the contrast can't be any bigger. because Sint Maarten, our bigger neighbor, it's a busy island. There's traffic jams. There's a lot of there's a big airport with big planes. But from there, in 20 minutes, you arrive to a place where time stood still. So that's, for the moment, the only way to get here with Win Air. 18 passengers, and it's an 18-minute flight to get here. And then you're in what we think paradise. The island itself, it's 11 square miles only. And we live here in harmony altogether with 3,000 people. Of those 3,000 people live here, there are 50 different nationalities. So it's kind of the world altogether in a nutshell island. There's one city, it's called Oranjestad. And if you go outside this, well, it sounds big, a city. It's more like a little village. But if you walk around out of Oranjestad, you're in the middle of nature, and you can walk around for days and without seeing nobody. Marika is standing on a rock here, and that's in the north of the island, and she looks at the QUILL. That's our big volcano on the island. And in the background, you see another mountain. That's St. Kitts. To explain our island, let me start by saying what we don't have. First of all, we don't have cruise ships. And actually, on this ship are more people than people on our island. So if you like busy beaches, busy swimming pools, cruise ships, you're actually at the wrong island. Plus, if you like shopping, casinos, huge crowds, you're at the wrong place. This is a traffic light. I have to Google this picture. We don't have those. We don't have traffic lights. We do have traffic jams now and then, and that means that there's a few goats or a few cows passing the streets. But it's a small, laid-back, quiet island. So what do we have? First of all, nature. Actually, twice the size of the island is protected, and that's the national parks on the island itself. This picture is made on the QUILL, on the volcano. That's a national park. And in the north, in the back, you see some mountains. That's also protected. Plus our marine park. I will talk about the diving a little bit later. So there's a lot of nature. And again, when you walk around on the QUILL, you are amongst birds and beautiful trees and so on. The chance you see somebody that day is close to zero. By the way, in this picture in the background, on the left, you see Seba. And in the right, you see Sint Maarten. So it's close by in that corner. Divers who are here for the last day before they fly out often have two options. Well, three. One is do nothing, read a book, have a drink, have a cocktail, have a beer. The other one is hiking the QUILL and the volcano. And for those who are really sportive, going to the rim is doable almost for everybody. Going down into the crater, which has an evergreen rainforest, and with on the left picture, it's Holland's biggest tree. That's kind of it's a climb. We are a pure island. We don't have steps with hand railings to go down in the QUILL. You now and then have to sit on your butt and climb from rock to rock to go into the QUILL. But it's really, really worthwhile. Just the sound, because of those crater walls, it reflects every bird and every insect you hear, and just the sound is amazing, plus all the rest of nature. Statia, if you would walk around now in Statia, you wouldn't believe it, because it's a kind of a sleepy town, quite relaxed. Statia used to be the biggest harbor in the world. Plymouth in England was the second biggest harbor in the world in that time, and we're talking 250 years ago. They had 1,400 big ships in the bay, in the port every year. Statia had 3,500 big ships in the port every year. There were 600 warehouses full of whatever you could buy at the time from all over the world. So it was kind of Manhattan, and eBay and Amazon together. If you want to buy stuff, this was the place to be. This history, wherever you walk in Statia, you smell and you find it. The parking lot, we are at the bay as well, in an old warehouse. Our parking lot, if you look down, you find clay pipes and pottery and broken pieces of old wine glass and so on. Yeah, history was pretty much is pretty much everywhere. That time there were 20,000 people on this island, and it was booming. It was the most expensive piece of land you could think of at that time, and the English, the British, the French, and the Dutch, they fight over this island. They all want to have a piece of it. And it changed hands between the British, the French, and the Dutch for 22 times. On the end, the Dutch won. So it's a Dutch island, together with Bonaire, Saba, Sint Maarten, Aruba, and Curaçao. They're all Dutch islands. So it's still Dutch. This is the fort. If you walk in Oranjestad, in Upper Town, yeah, it's like you're walking in an open air museum. We can organize a historical walking tour with Gay. She's on the picture here. And in 2 hours, you learn about the rich history Statia has to had in the past. I call it the locals. I call it smiles here. What is really special and unique, fortunately, in the world, but also in the Caribbean, our house is open. If you go to work, if you go diving, my door is open, like every other house in Statia. The car on the parking lot, it has the keys in it. I wouldn't say it's 100% crime-free, because you never know, but you can walk around at night and feel safe. If a car stops, if you walk around at night, it's probably because they want to give you a ride back to your hotel. And it's, for us who lives here, that's a really nice atmosphere. Of course, also for tourists who visit the island, you don't have to watch your back, don't have to be afraid that your bag gets stolen and so on. It's kind of unheard of. Again, more smiles and more smiles. This is actually on the dive center. This is the old warehouse we restored. And now and then our local friends who have national talent, they can dance better than the Dutch. They can sing better than the Dutch. And they can play instruments better than the Dutch. It's the music is a big thing here. And often they come and they take the guitars and the microphones on our porch, and in the weekends give a mini concert on the beach with all our diving friends and some locals as well. Let's go to the diving. We only have boat diving. Actually, we have access to the beach in front of the dive center, and that's really nice for snorkeling. There's an old city wall, but it's a kind of a sandy place, to be honest, besides the wall. And it's really, really shallow. So all our dives, in contrast with Bonaire, where it's shore diving almost only, we only do boat dives. It is the Green Flash, our bigger boat, and it holds 25 persons, including staff. So we go here maximum with 20 divers on this boat, and we have a smaller boat, the yellow boat, as you can see, although it's blue. We changed the color, but it's not wise to change the name of a boat that brings bad luck. That holds 15 persons, so a max of 12 divers on this boat. So we have two options. We can go to different places to go diving. Actually, all the dive centers together on Statia, we have the total of 4 boats, and we have 36 official marine park moorings. So I can promise you a lot of things underwater, but I also can assure you won't find other groups of divers when you are diving. This is the map of the island from above, and you see the volcano in the south, and it has some orange lines around it, same in the north. Those are the national parks. But Statia also has a marine park completely surrounding the island until 30 meters deep. from the shore till 30 meters deep. And although our island is way smaller than Bonaire, I think Bonaire is at least 25 times bigger than Statia. Our marine park is bigger than Bonaire. That's one of the reasons that Marieke and I became here. We see sharks and turtles and lobsters every dive. Not every dive, but every single dive, maybe second dive. And unfortunately, those are rare in other places in the Caribbean. We can see with our own eyes that a marine park really, really works. There's two different marine parks. There's one in the north reserve and one in the south. That's where we have our most dive sites. And in that reserve, nothing is allowed except diving. The lighter blue, almost white parts, that's a marine park, where you cannot fish with nets, you cannot trawl, but fishing there is still allowed. And so there's still a chance you see lobster pots, fish pots there close to the dive sites. Although if the whole world would fish like the few fishermen we have, there wouldn't be a big a problem with overfishing. What's really interesting in Statia, besides that's marine park, and you can see it when you dive, maybe even more important, that in this small island, the harbor is in the middle. If you go to the south or the north, it's about approximately 12 minutes, so it's really close by. But you can have 5, 6, 7 dives and have the feeling I went to a complete other island, because the landscape, the marine life, it all changes. So our diving is very, very diverse. And let me explain a little bit about our diversity. For instance, we have historical dive sites, triple wreck, double wreck. We have 200 anchors in our marine park. A lot of wine bottles, rum bottles, barrel hoops, ballast stones, clay pipes, pottery. We have some places where you have the feeling I'm diving in a museum. And one is very, very unique, and that's this dive. Actually, I'm holding here a blue bead, and wherever the Dutch went in that time, 200, 300 years ago, you find beads in all forms and shapes as a currency, as money. These beads are blue, and they're pentagon shaped, 5-sided. They were made only for Statia. And let me tell you something about the Dutch. One thing we don't like, as you probably know, is losing money. And because there were 600 warehouses, the Dutch were afraid that slaves in that time, if there would be a riot, that they would burn down our warehouses and we would lose money. To keep them under control, they got paid with blue beads. For a week work, they were receiving a blue bead. And that was currency, was money. And there's a lot of stories about blue beads. We have a dive site called Blue Bead Hole. It's a must-do dive. A lot of stories about it. One is that if you earn enough blue beads, you could buy your own freedom. If you earn enough blue beads and they would fit on around a woman's waist, you could get married. A blue bead finds you. You don't find the blue bead, they find you. That's another story. Best story of all is when slavery was abolished in 1863. Is that the story says that the freed slaves, they walked to the water edge and they took the blue beads they had on a little string on their neck. They took it off and they threw it in the sea to celebrate freedom. And we like this story so much that, and diving is freedom as well, that we put this story into our logo. So there's the blue bead in the middle with the water wrinkles around it, like it just hits the surface. Because as you all know, diving is freedom as well. No email, no phone, just fish and bubbles and your body. In those historical dive sites, we find some strange critters we don't find on the reefs. Oh, by the way, this Gershon, blue beads used to be plentiful. He's showing off his collection of beads. Now, if we dive with a whole group in Blue Bead Hole and one of you get found, that's already good. So it's not that you go down and you pick them up. They're really, really rare. But in the same area, interesting critters we don't see on the reefs. For instance, this one, it's a flying gurnard. And normally they got the fins close to the body. But if you approach them, they want to make themselves bigger to show off or to scare you away. And maybe it's coincidence, but the blue around the fins is exactly the same blue as the bluebeats. So there must be a connection right there. We think they are the bluebeat guardians, and they may guide us towards a bluebeat. So this is kind of a, as you can see, a bit seagrass, sandy, some rocks, a little bit of coral, but not very much. What else do we find there? This is a special one. It's a pike blenny, sandy color, lives in the sand, really small, hard to find. But if a male pike blenny finds another one, you get this. Then they become little miniature dragons. They open the fins and they open the mouth and the throat. They blow up the throat to show off who is the biggest. And they kind of dance for a minute or two until one says, well, you won, and he swims away. Mantis shrimp, you don't have to go to Lambay to see them. We got them in those historical dive sites as well. And as mentioned, 200 anchors, we have cannons. So a lot of historical dive sites, especially in front of the bay, just in front of the dive center. Let me throw in some wrecks, more modern wrecks, big ones. This is the Ching Tong. And during the day, standing straight up in the water, during the day, there's always some turtles around, and horse-eye jacks and fish, stingrays in the sand. At night, it's a must-do night dive. The big turtles, the mamas and the papas from all over Statia, they kind of come to this wreck at night to get a good night's sleep. Turtles have air in the lungs. If they really want to sleep, and they lay on the bottom, they will float up to the surface. So they use this wreck to tuck themselves in with a fin and with the carpus. They tuck them in under a stair, under a railing. And often you see a dozen or more mamas and papas, really, really big ones. Same wreck during the day with horse-eyes jacks. Big wreck, but not the biggest. This is the biggest. It's the Charles Brown. It's a cable layer of AT&T, the island, the nature organization, the dive centers, the government. We came together and we bought this wreck. Actually, it was a ship then, because we sunk it, for the total amount of $1. It's 100 meters long. It's a big wreck. So that's a cent for every meter of wreck. So we had a bargain. But we convinced AT&T that we would make it into an artificial reef. I think AT&T, the board, thought, well, that's good publicity for us as well. So Statia, you can have it for $1. All cleaned and stripped before it sunk. And it's a real wreck. Quite deep. 30 meters deep, that's the bottom. But less experienced divers also can dive it, because the top is around 17. So normally we take everybody there, and then we make maybe separate groups. One more experienced going a bit deeper, and less experienced stay on the top. Let me see if you see the whole wreck. Here we go. That's the rest of it. This is around 20 pictures stitched together, because the wreck is too big to capture in one photo. Although we have good visibility normally, we don't have 100 meters. So that's your wreck right there. Without any fish, the wreck itself is impressive enough, but there's a big chance you see this big boy. And this is Charlie, the resident barracuda of the Charles Brown wreck. And this is a big boy. It's the biggest we have. And he's kind of used to divers. He doesn't care if you come close, he won't swim away. So you can look Charlie in the eye, if you dare, that is. Let's go to the reefs. I'm going to start in the south. The volcano is 603 meters high. At least that's what land people think. It's at least 3 times as high, because 2/3 of the volcano is under the surface, where only we divers can see it. And although I think that the volcano is beautiful, the underwater part is even better. In the south, the volcano drops down to 1,200 meters deep. And here we dive on lava flows, and it forms canyons. So you have a wall on the left and a wall on the right, and we have at least 30 of those canyons on a row. Deep dive, worthwhile. And we also, in this area, see a lot of pelagic eagle rays and sharks swimming around. Between the south and the middle, in between an area, that's where we have the most of our dive sites, and that's coral reefs. And what I said, we don't dive, we don't throw an anchor on the island, nowhere. So it's all mooring. So we see big gorgonians, big barrel sponges, marine life the way it should be. Sharks just came out of water so far. Also have dives, we don't see them. But if you dive here for a week, pretty sure you, well, have to be careful, of course, but huge chance you see reef sharks and nurse sharks swimming around. What happens with divers, photographers mainly in the first dive, they see a lobster or 5 lobster in a row, and they shoot till the battery is empty. We tell them after one dive, hold on to your battery, because you, on the end of the week of diving, you see probably hundreds of lobsters. And after a few days, they say, well, Mike, you're right. Keep my battery for other stuff, because I saw already so many. This is the time where the females are carrying eggs, and it's kind of special. They keep the eggs on the belly with their belly flaps. They hold it together, and they're constantly with the last legs cleaning the eggs so there's no dust on it. And again, proof that a marine park works, because those eggs, they are drifting in ocean currents and they go to other islands. So there are still lobsters left for future generations. Statia, sometimes called the Turtle Island. Actually, in front of the dive center, we have a beach. And a week ago, a big turtle dig a nest there. So in a few months' time, we hope to see baby turtles coming out again. Turtles are quite plentiful. Hardly a dive without seeing 1 or 2. So it's a healthy marine life. And more reef fish. And I could talk about fish forever, but healthy marine park, healthy marine life, and a lot of diversity. And you won't find other groups of divers. Who are we? First of all, our building on the left, where the light is bright, it's an old warehouse, and we restored it with a porch. No, I will talk about this, the building later. Marieke and I, we have been diving all our life. What we did, we knew already when we were way younger than now that we want to have our own dive center somewhere in the world. On all our travels and all the work we did, we kind of looked in the kitchen of dive centers, and everything we liked, we copied. For instance, we don't have we have an unlimited dive time until the no decompression limit. If you can dive an hour, you dive an hour. If you can dive 70 minutes, you dive 17 minutes. Nitrox for free. Must say it's kind of a must, because our reefs don't go to the surface. They're starting around 15 meters. You can dive with air, of course, but nitrox is, well, beneficial to stay down longer, and that's you don't have to. We don't charge extra for it. What else? We dive in small groups, 6 to 1 instructor max. If you come as a group and you want to dive with the 10 of you in one group, that's fine with us. But then still, you got 2 guides in the water. One guide will go up with the first 4 people, and the other stays down till the end of the dive. More important is we are passionate. We, Marieke and I, and our team, we're passionate about diving. The owners, we are on the boat every day, on the dive center every day. And our staff is the same. And we kind of are quite proud that even on a very small island, our staff kind of hangs on to us for years and years and years. So we must do something right, hopefully. Another thing is we pick you up on the airport, and you're our guest for the whole week, and we bring you back to the airport. And we don't say goodbye during after a dive in the harbor. No, we put you on the truck, and it's a 3-minute drive from the harbor to the dive center, where we have our rinse bassins, everything. But more important, we also have a fully stocked bar. Actually, we are a beach bar and a dive center in one. And on this porch, end of the dive, watching the sunset, we lie about how big the shark really was. We go to the fish book and we change stories. And so we are, that social aspect is very important. The way actually Marieke and I want to be treated on our vacation as well. So we don't say in the harbor, bye-bye, see you tomorrow. You're our guest all day until sunset. Before you go back to your hotel. We have a full shop. New in the shop is we used last year to paint the building, do all the maintenance. It looks better than ever, and also to shoot some lionfish, which we fortunately don't have a lot, but still we have a few. And Marieke makes them into lionfish jewelry. Storage room. Yeah, we give you a box with your name, a hanger with your name, 2 hangers if you want. We bring this to the hotel. When you have breakfast in the morning, we take your box, which you filled with your dive equipment, unless you rent it from us, and we make sure it's on the boat every morning before you arrive on the boat. So you don't have to carry around with it. We take care of it. This is our hangout. This little building on the left, it's our cistern. We collect rainwater for our rinse basins, for our toilets, for our showers. We have solar panels. We don't have plastic cups and plastic straws. It's all biodegradable. We take care of the environment, and hopefully others will do the same. This is a bit of what I said. It's we're half bar, half dive center. With a beautiful sunset. And what we notice a lot is that if couples are diving as a couple, they meet each other on the dive boat, they dive with each other, and they hang out on our porch. And often the year after, they come back with the 4 of them. So we see, and also for us, we become friends with our divers, and same with our staff. But we see that it works, and we like to do this the same on our vacations. The guys are drinking Presidente beer. We also have coffee and sodas. Don't get me wrong. This is a shot from above. We're on the left. Marieke, maybe you want to say something about hotels quickly?
So you see our dive center, and then on the right side you see a few buildings. And so on walking distance, we have the old gin house. It's really 30 seconds away from the dive center. And they have 18 garden view rooms, 2 ocean view suites, 2 ocean view rooms, an apartment, and a little pool house. We call it pool room that has access to this pool. So it's a small hotel with different upgrade room options. But this hotel, at the moment, we work the most because it's really convenient next door of the dive center. Then we have a new player in the market. That's during the COVID times. They already planned it, but they built the first phase of this hotel. And it has now 32 rooms ready. They have 3 types of rooms: a family room, luxury suites, and condos. Part of the hotel opened September 4th, so it is just recently opened. There's a beautiful restaurant, very fancy. And of course, people who stay in other accommodations can go for dinner there as well. It's a little bit further away from the dive center, but they have a shuttle service. So if you would stay there, then every day the shuttle service bring you at certain, I think it's by the hour. It's going to be by the hour. Brings the people down to downtown to the dive center, and that's approximately a 15-minute ride. We have another accommodation. It's called the QUILL Gardens. It's a luxury villa that has 8 rooms, 8 suites, I have to say, because they are huge. It's run by a Dutch couple, and he's also a very good chef. So you can choose to have a meal plan or eat with them upon arrival once during the week, and the rest you choose to go to other restaurants on the island. At this place, you will need to rent a car because it's approximately a 10-minute drive from the dive center. And then we also have the Talk of the Town. This place has 3 apartments and 3 studios. You also need a car here. It's approximately 5 minutes with the car from Lower Town and from the dive center. But it's a more low budget accommodation. It's nice and clean, but it's a simple accommodation. But we want to be able to accommodate all type of travelers. So we added this to our program as well. Part of the talking is a little bit shorter than Mike's, only talking about hotels. So we hope that with this talk and the video that Petra is going to show you now, that our Caribbean island is a little bit less hidden secrets.
This video is going to be available on our YouTube channel as well. Mike and Marika have also donated a nice t-shirt, which they will bring to Dima with us. So we'll draw for a t-shirt still if you want to stay till the end for that as well.
Petra, in the meantime,
yes.
Say something about the COVID situation on the island. Of course, things may change, but at the moment it's like this, that vaccinated travelers, they have to have a test. And then when they arrive, they are in 5 days of monitoring, we call it. Meaning you can dive to the dive shop, to the porch, having a drink and so on. Only when you walk around, you have to wear a face mask, not when you're sitting down. You can dive, and then after 5 days, you got a rapid test, and from then you're free to go wherever you want without distancing and a face mask. 2 or 3, I think, in 1.5 years, but no serious accidents. Let's call it like this. But that's the case for now.
Anthony is asking, what are the typical water temperatures if you can put them into Fahrenheit?
In Celsius, it's 26 the coldest, 30 the warmest. It's 82.5 degrees Fahrenheit.
All right.
That's average.
Then talk about currents. George is asking, what are the currents like at the dive sites?
We have days, weeks without any current. We have days where the current is a bit more. We have so many moorings that if we notice before we jump in, we lower a drop tank. So we check the current before we jump in the dive. And if we notice that the current is quite strong, I don't like swimming against currents like most of us. We do a drift dive. So the boat will, maybe we have to go to another spot where it's possible. The boat goes to a mooring, divers go in, and in the meantime, the boat moves towards another mooring where the divers come up. So we have the current in our in a bag. But it's very unpredictable. We have to check on the moment, on the spot itself, how much current there is.
Electrical requirements, so voltage, battery charges, what is that on the island?
That's
asking that.
110 volts. It's an American system, American plugs.
Lana is asking, what is the best time of year in regards to visibility? And then also, what is the typical exposure protection that you recommend?
I'm getting cold quickly. I'm diving with a 5 mil, but I'm the only one at the moment. Every one of the staff now is diving with shorties or even with normal board shorts. In the winter, it gets a bit colder. Typically, in the winter, the max we see is 5 mil. And in the summer, it's a kind of a shorty. Although we dive long. So if it's only 40 minutes dives, then no one gets cold. But after an hour, then maybe you need a little bit of a thicker suit. Best time of year is year-round, except this month. Because we are in the hurricane region. All our eyes are now on the Atlantic, what's developing there. So in September, we're not closed. With training staff, we're busy with some local divers, but we tell our tour operators, don't come in September. And if you want to make sure, by the way, in average, it's 82.5 degrees Fahrenheit.
All right.
That's average. And you have the time, I would say, don't come from half August until the first week of October, just to make sure. September is the peak season. The rest of the year, visibility does change now and then, depending on current. Actually, the more current we have, the better the vis is. It's never bad. So it's good or better, often 30 meters. If you go down on Charles Brown, you see the bottom from the surface, and it's 30 meters deep. Clear.
30 meters equals about 99 feet, I think. Yeah. Christian is asking, and that's probably a question that I need to answer, what are the best options to get there from Canada? So really from anywhere in North America, you have to fly to St. Martin. So from Canada, that would typically be through Toronto. Air Canada and WestJet both have nonstop flights from Toronto to St. Martin. Or you can get there through the States, American Airlines to St. Martin, Delta, United, they all fly to St. Martin Martin. And then from St. Martin, it's about a 20-minute flight on Winair, and they have a few flights every day. So it's pretty easy, but from Canada, unless you're in Eastern Canada, it's typically 3 flights in total. Otherwise, you could do with 2 flights. Then let's do a quick draw here for the t-shirt. And the way we do this here is I am going to this website, Random Draw, and I'm going to plug in. We have people that were registered 65, so between 1 and 65. But if you've been on this before, you know that you still need to be here. If you're no longer here, we're going to do this again. So drum roll, number 12. John, there you are. Okay, perfect. All right. In 2 weeks' time, Traveling Thursdays. So Thursdays, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, wherever you live, we're going to go to Fiji. And we will be visiting with Volley Volley Beach Resort, one of our favorite vendors on the main island of Viti Levu. And there will be a big announcement, actually, about that in the newsletter in next week, Thursday. So stay tuned for that. We're hoping that you are able to join us next time in 2 weeks. And thank you so much to Marika and Mike for joining us tonight. Oh, and for those of you who are still interested, my special relationship with this island is, not my surprise, but I just want to tell you, I got bent on Statia. Had nothing to do with Statia itself. It happened on my first day. I hadn't been in the water for half a year, I believe. Traveled the day before, probably was dehydrated, a little bit tired, and I'm no longer 30 years old either. Anyhow, I spent 6 hours in a chamber. I also had a PFO, patent foramen oval, which means a little hole in the wall between the 2 heart chambers, which every 4 of us actually have. And that often is contributed to the bends. And so I got that fixed over a year ago. I'm ready to go diving again. But kudos to Marika was out of this world, driving me to the hospital to pay my bill there and arranging everything. So I can just highly recommend Scuba Aqua to you guys. And like Mike said at the beginning, it's not for everyone, but it's just a beautiful atmosphere in a small little place where you can walk around safely, beautiful places to eat dinner and breakfast. We were staying at the old gin house. So it's a great place. And like I said, hopefully we will see you again in 2 weeks' time, going to Fiji with us. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thanks, Mike and Marika, who
thank you very much.
Are already after 9 o'clock their local time. So time for happy hour, I assume. And thanks so much for everyone for joining us. We will see you again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.